In May 2024, people in Kansas looked up and saw something they weren't supposed to see. Auroras. Not in Alaska, not near the poles. Kansas. At the same time, radio turned to static, GPS got less reliable, satellites felt the atmosphere thicken, and operators quietly started doing the thing you never notice until it fails. Damage control. Because the real threat isn't pretty lights in the sky, it's what those lights mean. Tonight, I'm going to show you the day the sun came close to shutting down the modern world, and why the internet doesn't live in the cloud. It lives on cables, power grids, and fragile electronics, right where the sun can reach them. The sun doesn't just give off light, it throws tantrums. There are solar flares, sudden bursts of radiation, and there are coronal mass ejections, CMEs, massive clouds of plasma and magnetic fields blasted into space at speeds that can reach thousands of kilometers per second. Most people imagine a solar storm like a giant fireball frying everything. That's not how it works. The danger is indirect. When a powerful CME hits Earth, it slams into our magnetic shield and shakes it like a bell. That motion creates electric currents, not in the sky, but in the ground. Those are called geomagnetically induced currents, and they love one thing: long conductors. Power lines, pipelines, rail systems, and yes, parts of the infrastructure that keeps the internet alive. The scariest part? The difference between a manageable storm and a catastrophic one can come down to the CME's magnetic orientation, a detail we often can't confirm until it's almost here. So, how do we know what the worst case looks like? Because we've already seen it. September 1st, 1859. An astronomer named Richard Carrington is sketching sunspots when he sees something almost no human had ever documented. A bright, white flash, visible light on the surface of the sun. Hours later, Earth answers. The planet's magnetic field goes wild. Auroras explode across the sky, seen far beyond where they belong. Reports reach places as low latitude as the Caribbean region. And then, the technology of the era begins to fail. Telegraph systems, basically the nervous system of the 19th century world, start behaving like they're possessed. Operators report shocks, some offices catch fire, and multiple accounts claim something that sounds impossible. Telegraphs sending messages with their batteries disconnected. What happened? The storm was inducing current directly into the lines. In 1859, the world didn't have a power grid. No satellites, no GPS, no global digital economy. And that fact may have saved civilization from a much bigger disaster. Because today, we've built a planet that runs on exactly the kind of long, connected systems this phenomenon attacks. And the first time the modern world got a real warning wasn't in 1859. It was in 1989. March 13th, 1989. In Quebec, Canada, the Hydro-Quebec power system is hit by a geomagnetic storm. And what happens next is terrifying. Not because it's mysterious, but because it's measurable. Geomagnetically induced currents push into the grid. Transformers begin to saturate. Harmonics rise. Systems that stabilize voltage begin tripping. 7 key devices called static VAR compensators, SVCs, start shutting down. And in roughly 90 seconds, the grid collapses. 6 million people lose power. The outage lasts for more than 9 hours. Now here's the part many Americans miss. This wasn't a Canadian problem. The vulnerability depends on geology and grid topology. In the U.S. Northeast, studies show strong geoelectric fields during storms, meaning the same kind of currents can be driven into American infrastructure. And 1989 wasn't the peak of the danger. It was the warning label. Because by the 2000s, the world had evolved. We had satellites controlling navigation, we had planes flying polar routes, and we had the internet becoming the default nervous system of global life. Then came 2003. Late October through early November 2003. A series of major solar storms erupts, so intense that one of the X-ray events ranks among the strongest measured by GOES satellites. This time, the impact isn't just about lights in the sky. It's about space-based systems. Satellites experience anomalies. Some are lost. GPS accuracy degrades as the ionosphere becomes chaotic, like trying to see through water that suddenly starts boiling. Aviation feels it too. Polar routes, where radio communication and satellite navigation are critical, face disruptions. Airlines reroute, not because the sky is dangerous, but because the invisible environment around Earth has become unpredictable. And still, the world holds. No global blackout, no permanent collapse, which is exactly why people underestimate the risk. Because the next big moment wasn't a disaster. It was a near miss. A shot that passed so close that if it had landed, we'd still be talking about it every day. July 23rd, 2012. A powerful CME erupts from the sun, an extreme one. It doesn't hit Earth. Instead, it slams into NASA's Stereo-A spacecraft, which measures its intensity. And the implication is chilling. Had Earth been in that position, we could have faced widespread impacts across power systems and critical technology. This wasn't the 1800s, this was the smartphone era. The event didn't need to be apocalyptic to be catastrophic. It only needed to push enough stress into enough weak points at the same time. And the weak points aren't just power plants. They're the arteries of the internet. When people hear the internet, they picture Wi-Fi, satellites, clouds. But intercontinental internet traffic doesn't float in the sky. It runs through submarine cables, thick, armored lines on the ocean floor. Inside them are repeaters, powered in series, with high-voltage equipment at coastal landing stations. Here's why that matters. Geomagnetically induced currents can create unexpected voltage differences along long conductive routes, especially at higher latitudes and coastal regions, depending on the electric field. You don't have to burn a cable to break a connection. You can stress the power feeding equipment, trip protections, damage electronics, and suddenly, it's not that the internet is down. It's that the world's network becomes partitioned, slower, fractured, unreliable between continents. Not everything dies, but the world becomes smaller overnight. And then, in 2024, the sun reminded us again. May 2024 brought the first extreme geomagnetic storm of this solar cycle, rated at the highest levels by NOAA. Auroras appeared far from the poles. Radio and GNSS systems saw disruptions. In low Earth orbit, satellites experienced increased atmospheric drag, forcing operators to adjust, predict, and respond under pressure. And the key lesson was simple. We're entering an era of mega constellations, constant GPS dependence, and critical infrastructure that assumes stability. But space weather doesn't care what our systems assume. We do monitor the sun. We do get warnings, sometimes hours to days for a CME's arrival. But the most critical factor, magnetic orientation, often becomes clear only close to impact. So are we prepared? Some, not fully. Grid standards exist, Operators can reduce load and manage risk. But replacing a damaged extra high voltage transformer can take weeks, even months, and supply chains are not instant. Meaning the real question isn't, will the sun end the world? It's, how long can a modern society function when its infrastructure becomes uncertain? There's a strange comfort in looking at the ocean, because it feels permanent. And yet beneath it, cables carry the conversations, the markets, the emergency calls, the navigation signals, the invisible lifelines of the modern world. All of it depends on systems built for a stable planet. But above that calm water is a star, and it is not stable. The next time the sky glows over places it shouldn't, don't just look up. Remember what's connected down here. Because the internet doesn't live in the cloud, it lives on Earth. And Earth is wired to the sun. If you want more true stories about the hidden failures that shaped the modern world, subscribe and comment. Where do you think the next invisible disaster will come from? Space, the ocean, or something we built ourselves?